the first link we saw for this was not the bee, because this is not a parody. This is a Chinese biolab discovered in Vegas by the FBI with vials labeled Ebola, malaria, and dengue fever. The house was also an Airbnb, a rental home. This is pretty crazy. But
yes.
So they discovered, the CDC, was brought in to investigate because they discovered all the, clearly infectious diseases potentially. So they brought in the CDC to go in with their hazmat suits and everything. And they identified at least 20 potentially infectious agents, including HIV, tuberculosis, and the deadliest form of malaria. A refrigerator labeled Ebola was later discovered. And then it came out later that the same person who owns this biolab owned one in California as well. Crazy story. This is on U.S. soil, a Chinese-owned biolab with infectious diseases, bioweapons, basically.
And the FBI are already saying that the individual, David He, as a Chinese citizen with potential ties to the Chinese Communist Party. It's really kind of a horrifying story that we're looking at here. Because, but it's almost amusing, okay? Forgive me for having a bit of a dark sense of humor here, Jake, but it's, let's just imagine you're running your own biolab and you're playing with these diseases like malaria and you're injecting these things into mice and doing experiments on them. And then on the side, you're like, you know what I should do? I should make my other room into an Airbnb. I know
that's the craziest part of this, but it's not the craziest part of it. That is by far the most darkly amusing part of it. But and I'm not sure. It doesn't get into the details of how they discovered this situation. I'm wondering if maybe it's related to that was the slip up of, well, let's try and it was probably part of the cover. No one's going to suspect an Airbnb of concealing a biolab full of these potential hazardous agents. So I suppose that's probably the explanation, but it may have been that may have been the tip off by someone staying there who said, this is a little odd. Let me call this in. They did not get into the details there, but it says
I did see one story at 8 News that said that several people became sick from the illegal biolab. So I think that would be the indication, such that they were unable to get up. They were so sick. So I think that the excuse of, this is just an ordinary Airbnb may also have been what trapped them, or trapped him rather. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're kind of seeing. Several people became sick. The garage was always closed though and locked at this Airbnb, and so that kind of led to that discovery. But when FBI investigators went into the garage, they found 3 different refrigerators full of these different vials of seemingly random, at least, infections, and lots of mice, some of which were dead and some of which were rotting. So apparently it smelled like a hospital, but not in a good way, but in a stale air kind of a way. I'm not sure how to imagine that.
Yeah, and I'd rather not. And again, this is linked to a case in California. There's another biolab in California that's being investigated. David He was the owner there. He faces federal charges for allegedly manufacturing and distributing misbranded medical devices. He was basically making counterfeit test kits to sell to people. And part of that investigation discovered a biolab in California. Now they've discovered one owned by the same guy in Las Vegas. So is there some kind of network going on here? We don't know yet. We're still waiting for hopefully more information about this to come out. But keep an eye on this situation. If you haven't heard of this, again, we didn't see many major sources covering this. A lot of this was from your reporters on X, these more independent sources reporting this. But this is all confirmed. This is real, and it's pretty crazy. So monitor this, keep an eye on this situation, look this up, get this thing trending, and share it, because this is pretty big. And a lot of people are calling for severe consequences from the federal government to try and respond to this, because you've got, again, Chinese nationals operating illegal biolabs full of bioweapons on U.S. soil. Like this is very dangerous national security situation. So,
well, I find our relationship in America with China to be rather interesting, Jake, because in some sense, they're our biggest trading partner. And so we kind of act like they're friends. And then on the other hand, we have, Chinese spies working as drivers for our members of Congress, for example, being arrested. We have Chinese nationals being arrested for running law enforcement operations on U.S. soil. And so in different ways, they act very much like an enemy. And of course, they are still very much a communist state, very much a dictatorial power. They're very much an anti-Christian state. We have sources, we have reliable sources at this point about their organ harvesting of prisoners. Like, I think it's fair to say that they are an immoral body, at the very least. And so our relationship in America with them has always seemed odd to me, other than the fact that, they're such a large power that we feel like, we have to be dependent. But we really should, in my opinion, be as distant as possible, because our reliance upon a country that is so immoral cannot be good for Americans in the long term.
Absolutely. It's like if during the Cold War, all of our toys and tools and various other daily implements were made in the Soviet Union, and we had Soviets running illegal biolabs on U.S. soil. And if we had, Soviet communist Russian agents implanted high in the government. Oh, wait, we did under FDR. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's a very similar situation to, the Cold War and even pre-World War II and our relationship with communist Russia. Now it's communist China here in this situation. And it's a grave national security issue, and people are calling for, I've seen several tweets about this, for severe consequences on the part of, China and with the federal government taking action here. So we can hope that happens. I really think it's necessary, but we'll see. Again, this is a breaking story from yesterday that we have not seen really make the big rounds yet. So push this into the mainstream and hope that that we get some actual action on it, because we've seen some similar situations in the past, but this one's pretty out there with the range of research going on here. It's pretty crazy. So
it's all being done by local outlets, from what I can tell, just disconnected bits of information. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So we want to see this get linked together, and again, there might be information that the FBI can't put out yet because it's the middle of an ongoing investigation, that sort of thing. So we may not see all the details come out right away, but we definitely want this to be on people's radar, and especially on the radar of people who can make a difference in this situation. So